Camera's on.
Camera's
You
on.
can take care of
No
me.
John, no John, I'll move up the street.
Sorry.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't know if we
I
allow
did.
musical
How are
chairs.
you?
I'm good, Jen, how are you?
Good.
Lot of years.
Dan Stone.
Hey Dan, it's Jennifer.
Good evening.
So you are on speaker. We're starting the meeting shortly.
Okay, thank you.
You know, that kind of thing, and so. Okay. They're live. Bank accounts and, you know, close stuff. You know, you recall my second. Hey, Dave, how are you doing?
Hey, Dave. Good, how are you?
Hey Dave, how are you?
Oh, that's horrible, yeah.
Okay, now,
I think they're by law, they have to do.
now we're good.
Oh, nice.
It's not totally gone, but it's been treated 3 times today. And it wasn't part of the budget to do this deck and the top of the carport. He did it and cleaned up the gutter.
Nice.
Did a nice job.
How was it?
Well, yes and no. It was treatment of the roof and,
Oh, on your parents' house, that,
yeah.
yeah, stuff works well.
Hey, you good?
I did.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but, you know. There was some that specializes in. Well, it's that time of year. It's that time of year. We all got the text. Did we keep that of the text on that one?
Dan, you're out of the loop.
I'm okay with that.
What's that?
Who's your blue? It's for you. It's a trustee blue.
Oh, excuse me. Wow.
Oh, illegal blue.
That's good, 'cause it's,
Alrighty. You're gonna be very busy tonight, Dave.
He's prepared.
You pretty
gonna
much
be-
have a meeting all yourself here.
I won't take long, I promise.
I think I'm just gonna leave these in a stack. Usually spread everything out, we'll just leave them in a stack tonight.
Look at the word on it.
Dead on.
Yes.
Beautiful out now. Blue
August
sky.
1st,
Yeah.
2022.
See the sky the other night? Was it night before last, I think?
Beautiful.
Last night was pink and purple.
Was it last night?
Last
Yeah.
night
Yeah,
was
last night
like-
was, because it was kind of just dreary out, and all of a sudden that
Yeah,
sun came
it was
out.
pretty.
Yeah,
I can see from my patio now over to Western.
yeah,
Now it's nice.
it was beautiful.
So you can watch now live.
You go up to the top of
Okay.
Quaker Hill, you make the right on Church Road, sit up there and it's beautiful.
It's just
That's right by,
notification.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got the
Yeah,
regular
that little
street.
side street, yeah, comes out by the
They built
church.
the house there, but it used, before the house was even nice.
Okay, welcome to our August 1st, 2022 Village Board meeting. If you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I can't speak. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. minutes. Do I have a motion to, did everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve the July 18th minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Dave, we are introduction of local law to reduce the maximum height applicable to type 1 shopfront buildings in the B1 zone from 4 floors back to 3.5 floors.
Right, and that's pretty much, we had previously talked about doing a full repeal of local law number 1 of 2018, but now we're just making it simpler, because this was the main thing that I think we were looking to accomplish.
You might want to get, in front of the mic. Slide down, John's not going to be with us tonight.
So that was the main thing we wanted to accomplish, and the other provisions were felt to be, in the discussion, things that should be put off to a more broad discussion about the comprehensive plan and the zoning, so.
Okay.
All right, so that's being introduced, and the county has looked at this, and they've already come back to say it's a matter of local concern, so you could,
So
if you wanted to,
you
could set the public hearing on 10 days' notice, and, yes.
So.
Introduce the
next
law,
meeting is
the
August.
resolution is here, if you want to just track it.
Is that enough time?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so do I need a motion to set the public hearing?
I make a motion to set the public hearing for our next meeting, which is
August
August 15th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution for introduction of proposed local law to repeal Chapter 58A of the Code of the Village of Pawling entitled Peddling and Soliciting, and enact a new Chapter 58A entitled Peddling and Soliciting.
So this, we already have, we had redone the peddling law, and then we had some discussions about the public assembly activities and trying to come up with some reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions that would sort of balance, the First Amendment rights for people to speak, religion, everything like that, but also to do so, to have some reasonable regulations that have been found to be acceptable by the Supreme Court and other courts. So kind of striking a balance. And so we have the public assembly and the use of public facilities permit, and that would be a kind of a takeoff on there is a village green usage policy right now that you guys have been using for a while, and so this would expand it to any kind of public areas. So whenever there's a public, it's got to be a public purpose because it's public property, so it can't be for profit. It's basically, people have to show they've got a legitimate purpose. And once there's standards, the permit's pretty similar to what you already have in those policies. That was a pretty good policy, but like I said, it expands it to the gazebo. The War Memorial, I think generally speaking, is something that's dedicated to, not generally speaking, it is dedicated to, historical veterans, honoring that all.
Place of reflection.
Right. So, but there are occasions where there might be an event that is consistent with that. I mean, the Legion. So it's not
Right.
it's not prohibited, but the board has the discretion to, for that reason, not to allow activities.
We have an agreement that is maintained by the American Legion, and in my eyes, it should be the American Legion that uses that memorial, and otherwise it should be left there for a place of
Right.
reflection.
I just didn't want to say something that made it seem like the American Legion was going to be prohibited from using it, so it's consistent with that, so.
And some of the other ones is we've been having a little bit of conflict with usages, so we want to make sure that everything's being vetted so that we don't have conflicts.
Right. So generally speaking, there's plenty of room in the village for all kinds of legitimate, speech, religion, whatever. But certain areas would just not be consistent because people are coming to reflect, and again, the Supreme Court has recognized that in certain settings it is appropriate to have those kinds of regulations, as well as when people are using kind of fixed equipment, whatever it might be, a tent, a setup, an easel, whatever, those things have also been found to be reasonable. So when people want to go beyond what normally would be a public use, like picnicking, or, well, I don't even know, but just kind of walking around and enjoying the scenery, but where they're setting up something and handing stuff out and things like that, those things are subject to reasonable regulation, and that would, the public assembly use of public facilities provision would allow that. So, and then some of the limitations on the distance, that when somebody has a permission to use a public facility, it's reasonable not to want their activities, to be interfered with. So this law provides for reasonable distances for kind of competing uses to stay away from those activities, including what's called exempt soliciting, which would be any kind of political, religious sort of activities that they're pretty well defined in the ordinance. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. I mean, I think you could, the idea would be to just introduce it, and if you're, take some time to look at it and schedule a public hearing.
All right,
From there.
so anybody want to make a motion to set public hearing
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for the peddling and soliciting.
for August, for our
For-
next meeting,
Yeah, for our next meeting,
which is August 15th.
August 15th.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And the public facilities, I sort of combined the discussion of that with both, so if you're amenable to that, you can pass that resolution as well.
Oh, okay, I see,
Yeah,
they're split.
there's two
They're on the
split, yeah,
agenda.
they're
Okay.
different, yeah. So
Okay.
kind of keeps it, because they are, in a way, I had them
They kinda
together, but
speak
then
to
I
each other and,
I had them together at first, but then I realized that it probably, you're only supposed to have one purpose per law, and they really are somewhat different. Peddling and soliciting is the commercial stuff,
okay,
and, got the other stuff, so.
okay. All right, so do I have a motion to set the public hearing for the parades, public assembly, and public area, use of public areas?
I would make a motion that we set the public hearing for the August 15th meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can't read with my glasses. The introduction for proposed local law regarding reimbursement of expenses incurred by the Pawling Joint Sewer Commission in connection with sewer connections.
So this is very similar to the law that you passed earlier this year, I believe it was this year, right, for the water?
Water,
It's
yeah.
really modeled after that.
Right.
So I don't know that you need to have too much discussion about it. It's exactly the
No,
same
it's
kind
just
of.
to set the same standard for the sewer connections, what if there's work that needs to be done by the village crew and/or any other contractors, it would be covered by escrow.
Right, and then it basically gives people the opportunity, you put the escrow up, but you're being fairly charged based on what it turns out to be, yeah.
And it seems to have worked well so far. With the water.
Yeah, and the application fee is $500, and then you come up with the escrow amount from time to time, so.
Yep, and then the person is provided with a list of all the expenses and everything, so then they know exactly what, it's just to cover those direct expenses.
Right.
The rest would be reimbursed. So do I have a motion to?
I make a motion to, do we need to set a hearing, or can we just approve this?
No, you need a hearing. This is also a law. It's a local law.
Okay.
So it'll be kind of, the sewer committee, the town will have to do sort of a similar thing to, because the commission
Right.
doesn't have.
All right, so I make a motion that we set the public hearing for August 15th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Discuss Pawling Commons request regarding the 2019 building permit fee.
So there was a request from the applicant that's now been approved, and they're moving forward with their building permit. They had previously had an approved building permit based on a prior project, but then for whatever reason, they didn't proceed with the project, and they had to come back and do another submission, and now they're going through the permit process again. They didn't I mean, the whole permit process is intended to be reasonable, cover costs, and Ed Larkin had looked at the situation and recommended that in terms of what resources were likely expended at the time, it was roughly 50%, and that's kind of the rule of thumb. There was a permit submitted which required, obviously extensive review and the like for that issuance, but there were no inspections. So he felt, and he's recommending a 50% credit to be applied to the current permit.
Okay, so I just need a vote of approval for this.
I make a motion that we approve this request.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Dave, you can bend that down too, so you don't have to,
Oh.
it moves all
Go
around
kinda-
the way you want to
My
move
neck's
it.
gonna be sore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the regulation regarding animals, I'm not sure domestic, I was thinking non-domestic, but however.
Yeah, I thought you were right, but then I saw that Ag and Markets defines it as domestic.
Domestic,
You
yeah.
had me convinced.
I
and
know,
said, no.
I don't see it that way,
All right,
but-
whatever, you don't
Yeah.
even, we don't even have to use that word.
Yeah.
So, but again, this is just for discussion, if the board would like to pursue some kind of permit, so that there's an understanding of what can and can't, I mean, certain areas obviously are probably not suitable, the B1, and again, it's sort of a.
Well, we're not explaining this.
Yeah.
So in my mind, domestic animals, a cat and a dog, and this is not what we're talking about,
Chickens.
so, yes.
Chickens primarily. That would be, really the point for discussion is, having some regulation of chickens. I mean, right now, I don't think there is a prohibition, it would be more of a nuisance.
No, but we
thing.
had a complaint.
Yeah.
We've had
So-
complaints.
So This is modeled after, I looked at a bunch of, not a bunch, but I looked at several different laws, and this seemed to me to be the best one. That was kind of, it was kind of it's very, kind of, you can only have 6, you can't have a rooster, you can't smell, it's gotta be, put back enough, there's an inspection, consult with the neighbors, that kind of thing. So, if you wanna kind of,
I think it's just something for the board to
Yeah, you
consider,
can
think
consider
about
it,
it,
yeah,
see if this
yeah.
is a direction we wanna go in or
if
not.
there's any rush, but it.
The
yeah.
complaint that we had in the past was that the chickens were leaving the person's property and going into other people's property. It can attract, your coyote and fox to come in for chickens. So it's just something to be thinking about.
Yeah.
It, not always necessarily just chickens, so I don't know if we need
Get the
to
other-
address it.
Well, the other ones, it would actually,
Isn't
this.
there, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Isn't there already something related to this that's a standard in all communities?
No.
No, it's interesting, it's
No,
it's
but
all over the
usually
place.
in the towns, you're gonna have larger properties that would be able to provide for some of these animals, but in our situation where most of the properties are fairly small, it doesn't allow so much room
Yeah.
for some of these things.
So what again, just for discussion, I had put like for other animals, farm, let's say farm animals.
Right.
You'd have to have 3 acres, a minimum, because there is some property right up,
Well, we
the
were
side
just
of Route
recently
22
asked if
and-
we allow horses in the
Yeah,
village.
I mean, so setbacks, fences, whatever standards, but, you don't wanna overkill it if somebody has a 5 or 10 acre parcel, maybe it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, up until how many years ago, there were farms in the village.
Yeah, well,
Sure. Yeah.
But I thought we had something on the books, and there is nothing, is what you're saying.
I searched our code, just by word search, I didn't come up with anything. You right, Jennifer? Yeah, good. Yeah.
Dan doesn't wanna accept that.
No, because I thought we've had this discussion.
You're not getting a rooster, buddy.
Well, it got discussed when there was a complaint, so
Tom wants me to get
No
a
rooster there, sorry.
he wants a rooster.
He's my neighbor.
I've
See,
had
there we
roosters.
go.
They always, my kids make them disappear somehow.
Yeah. Soup, chicken soup. Anyway, this isn't anything that needs vote now, it's just something for the board to consider. So, think about it, and we can bring it up again when we feel the need, so.
All right.
Okay, update on parking enforcement.
So that's just, again, that's moving forward. I mean, the town has put everything in place, and I think at the last meeting, there was discussion about some of the fines and, you know, how you wanna do that. But if to move forward, we just need to pass a law that would basically enact the fines as a, you know, add whatever we're gonna do, upgrade them, add a failure to appear provision. What FBS said was that if we get that kind of underway in the next month or so, they would then, there's really, the town thing, they said, in terms of implementing that software, they said it's pretty easy. So I asked them what, you know, what that timeframe should be.
Because the town approved it.
Yeah.
And we've
yeah,
approved
yeah.
using
Yep.
FBS.
Yep, and so
So
everything is.
that's all set, so it's just a matter of approving the fines and.
Mhm. Yep, so
So
if
can
it's
we
okay,
maybe think about doing that for our next meeting?
Yes, that was
So
my
that
plan.
hopefully we can be up and operational at the beginning of September?
I don't think it's gonna be that quick, unfortunately, because they have to, they talked about the tickets having to be, you know.
Well, that's why I was trying to get
Yeah.
the tickets
Yeah,
moving.
yeah, well, they're working on it, but they're, you know, so.
So we've been down for a long time
I
now.
know.
So, the fees and stuff that we had in place before,
They weren't adequate and there wasn't a escalating fine situation. Like if you ignore your first parking ticket, you know, it should go up. If you ignore your second one, it should go up. So.
That was the big thing that he mentioned, that he's meant, you know, failure to appear is
Right.
a huge piece of this, so in terms of, you
We're
know,
trying to get
encouraging.
in line with other municipalities, so.
Yeah.
so is that gonna, can that happen by our next meeting, or has
Yeah.
there been any,
Well-
been any discussion about it at all?
We can get
Yeah.
the fines, yes, we have everything of what we want, so if you're able to
Absolutely. It's
pull the,
not complicated.
okay, so the
We'll
local
have it.
law that we need to pass,
Yeah.
we can have that for our next meeting. But what he's saying is, we're not gonna be able to start doing it, which I thought was gonna be the beginning of September, now is not.
No,
going
he
to
said,
be.
you know, yeah, I mean, but he's very cooperative and, you know, he wants to move it forward, and so. We pass get those laws passed at the end of the month, that we've done what we can, you know, then you're ready, and then it's just a matter of getting the town on and hopefully.
I know that, we had gotten the draft, ticket.
Good,
We
okay.
reviewed it, we had quite a few different comments on it, but,
Did he got that back? You got that, he's seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, good, all right, well, then, yeah.
so that's why I thought we were gonna be
No,
in
he
a
said
better
September,
position.
yeah, no, he.
Yeah, I thought he
so-
said September, so. I'm wishing the first and you're saying more like.
I don't, you know, yeah, I mean, I can ask him, you know, we'll actually be ready September 1st, so it's up to, you know, maybe
Okay.
I'll try to press him, I'll say, look, we really
Yeah.
wanna get this going.
Yeah,
and,
we
Yeah,
should be
we're-
ready
we're
August
kinda-
15th.
Yeah,
If we pass the law.
But we don't have the ticket yet, we're still working
the
on the ticket.
ticket is what, the ticket is the key. The law, you know.
You can't do
yeah,
anything without a ticket.
That's the
I
key.
thought you had that done.
I just said we reviewed it and sent back our comments.
Oh. Well, seems, all right, seems like a convoluted process. All right, let's move on.
Yes, please. Okay. Anybody have any questions regarding any of that before we move on to,
So at our next meeting, we'll be able to discuss the fees and be able to pass the law at the next meeting?
yes?
No, you won't be able to
We will
pass it.
have the
No, you'll-
draft
yeah.
law to discuss
Right.
Yeah.
and set the
Set a
public hearing
Okay.
And then you can
for the
pass it.
first meeting in
Right.
September. So then we'll be
Are
set.
the tickets able to be
I tried
made
to.
during that process, or
I
do they have to
can-
wait till we pass the law?
No, it should be able to be
no,
made, and we
no,
sent our
it's
comments
not.
back, so I'm hoping that we can kind of have them come together, that passing the law and the tickets are
Right.
ready, and
Sounds good.
we hit the ground running, but Dave's not looking as encouraged as I was.
Well, maybe he can be, he's very cooperative, as I said,
All right,
so he maybe
so
can be pushed to,
Let's
you have that
push
timeframe.
so that we can try to the beginning of September.
Got it. Mhm.
If we can. Okay, does anybody have any other questions before we move on to the engineer's report? Okay. Dan Stone, you're up.
Thank you. I want to start by just talking briefly about the rate study. Municipal Solutions and Labella have been trying to develop a simplified rate program for both water and sewer. We presented that to Lori and Dan, and there needs to be some adjustments based on that. I plan on being in the village during the week of August 15th, at which point I hope we'll be able to have this far enough along that we can sit down with some of the bigger users and discuss how the program might play out. On water supply, the Labella has been monitoring, well, let me go backwards. The permit to operate the Umshot wells has a control mechanism embedded in it. It requires a gradient from north to south to the Swamp River. That gradient is measured at 2 monitoring wells. And the data from those 2 wells are reported out to the web automatically. They need to be looked at every day and compared with the control levels in the permit. Labella has been doing that, but last week I trained EC to be able to do that. And they, starting today, are looking at those data every day, and will report those to during our Monday morning operational meeting. As we speak, the gradient is 3 inches between those 2 monitoring points. The permit requires us to stop pumping at 2 inches. It's a very, very slow decline. I don't expect us to hit the 2 inches at least within 60 days if there were no rain. And any rain that we get would extend that period. I'm also recommending that we don't ever get to the 2 inches. If we approach 2.5 inches, I will be making a recommendation to Tom and Lori and Dan that we cut back in the production of the Umshot well that's online and seek to get more water from either Corbin or the Libby sources. So there's nothing to be alarmed here. It's just we're in heavy watch mode, and if anybody knows a good rain dance, they should do it. We're out to bid on the control system for the Umshot project. Those bids are due August 12th. I will have a recommendation for the board on the 15th as to who they might choose to award to. We are also on target to close out the Umshot project by December with the Environmental Facilities Corporation to close both the grant and the loan. The grant that you're eligible for there is $1.7 million, and we expect to fully receive that. The horizontal drone contracts are being presented to Mayor Taylor later this week. We hope that they will be executed, and the contractor needs to complete that work by September 30th. He's told me that he expects to get it done in August, and that's good. The deadline at September 30th, again, is driven by the nearby endangered and threatened species. For Lower Baxter, we're in the process of completing the application, and I expect that to be completed and submitted to DEC for a wetland disturbance permit and water withdrawal permit by late August or very early September. It is my goal to work through whatever issues there might be at DEC, that have those permits in hand by December. Similarly, I hope to be able to submit a plan set for the Lower Baxter physical work to the county health department and state health department, again in that same time frame, late August, early September. The village was able to secure the 6-inch high-density polyethylene pipe, which will be installed concurrently with the horizontal drilling contract under wetland DP22. So that work, we won't have to do any work under the wetland to effect the Lower Baxter source into the system. We, meaning Municipal Solutions and Labella, are in the process of applying for a WIA grant to New York State Department of Health and EFC for funding support for the Lower Baxter site. We are of the belief that 60% of the project costs will be eligible for grant, and we're hoping that we'll score high enough that the village will be able to get help with interest subsidy as well. But that remains to be seen after the EFC review. The hydrant flow test program continues. Juliana is coordinating with EC and Everett, and hydrants will be color-coded as to their capability to produce water. And finally, I'd like to thank John Boweger. He did a great job fixing the one column on the bandstand. He used an epoxy material to first he removed rot that had occurred in that column, even though it was a cedar post, and replaced that damaged wood material with an epoxy and fiberglass reinforcing, and it looks great. And I think he's given a few more years' life to that column. And that's all I have. I will be in town on the week of August 15th, and if any of the trustees wish to meet with me, I'll be around that. So
Thank
hope
you.
all is well.
Thank you, Dan. Does anybody have any questions for Dan?
No?
All right, thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve July's bills in the amount of $110,363.54?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and open up public comment.
I make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody have anything? Brian?
I took the job as the Mount Kisco Public Library Director, so I'll be moving down there in a couple weeks. So I just wanted to say thank you to the village for partnering with the library. I've been the director for the last 6 years, but I mean, you guys have partnered with the library for many years, and we appreciate the support and kind of look forward to continued partnership. And I hope that the new director will reach out to you guys, and you'll reach out to the new director and continue to work together.
Well, thank you very much for all your hard work.
Good luck,
And
too.
wish you the best in your future endeavors down in Mount Kisco. Sorry to have lose you. It's going to be a big loss to this library and to this community for everything that you've done. So really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Has your replacement?
No plans yet, so we're taking applications. If you know anybody who would be interested in applying, please send them to our website.
Okay, thank you. Hey?
I see that the Anderson Way Street sign is up, and I just want to thank you for getting that done.
Well, it took a while working with the county, so I finally wanted to get it up, but we are also then going to be working on having a small ceremony for that, but I just wanted to get it on the post. So both street signs will be up for probably at least 6 months, just to get people comfortable with it. Post office is aware of it. Shouldn't be any issue with people receiving the mail on that street, whether it's addressed to West or addressed to Anderson Way. So, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session for litigation and contract negotiations?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Thank you, everybody. Good
Good
night.
night. Take care.
Good luck. Let's go.
I have no idea.
That's it.
John Poacher.
Not as much as I wanted to do without.
I had 13 at the house last weekend.
Yeah. That's 28 years, right?
better staff than in West Lawn.
What's in her head?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. No decisions or votes were taken during our executive session, so can I entertain a motion to close executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have to open the regular meeting back up
Mhm.
again? The regular meeting? Oh, okay. Do I have a motion to open the regular meeting?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And can I have a motion to close the executive, regular meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all. Have a good one.
I'll get that straight
Good
one of
night.
these days.
Good night, Dave. Good night, Chair. Good night, Lori. Good night, Jen.